Welcome to the deep dive. And before we look at a single source today or discuss any history, I really just want to offer a divine blessing for your day and for your entire week ahead. May you find profound peace, sharp clarity, and enduring strength for whatever you're stepping into right now.
Absolutely.
Because today we are talking about what happens when peace is entirely gone, when clarity is lost, and you find yourself, staring down actual giants.
Yeah, we are diving into some incredibly rich commentary from the Holman Study Bible and the NAA Study Bible today. We're focusing specifically on Deuteronomy chapter 9. And what is so striking about this text is how aggressively it dismantles the stories we like to tell ourselves.
Like the stories about our own success.
Exactly. Our own success, our own merit, it just tears that right down.
So imagine you were standing with the ancient Israelites. You're on the very edge of the promised land. You've been wandering in this harsh desert, waiting for decades, and now the ultimate challenge is just sitting right in front of you.
Right. This is the championship game.
Yeah. Your leader, Moses, steps up to the podium to give the final address before the invasion. And in any modern context, this is where the swelling orchestral music kicks in.
Oh, totally. You expect the ultimate motivational locker room speech.
Yeah, like something about believing in yourself, discovering your inner strength, manifesting destiny, all of that.
But Moses delivers the furthest thing from a pep talk. He offers this brutal reality check about human ego. He talks about the danger of self-righteousness and the reality of unmerited grace.
And he doesn't sugarcoat the physical obstacles at all.
No, not even a little bit.
The physical reality is genuinely terrifying. To take this land, first of all, they have to cross the Jordan River, which logically is a massive nightmare in itself.
Oh, yeah, just the logistics of moving that many people.
Right. And then they have to conquer nations that are physically larger and militarily vastly superior to them. The text mentions cities with fortifications and walls that supposedly reach all the way to the sky.
And the commentary specifically highlights the Anakim, the sons of Anakim. The Holman notes point out that these weren't just unusually tall enemies.
Right.
These literal giants had become like a cultural touchstone for absolute terror across the whole ancient Near East.
They were famously scary.
Yeah, they were so intimidating that they had actually become a popular proverb, like for a completely impossible situation. The common saying of the day was literally, "Who can stand before the sons of Anak?"
Wow, so it is not just a tactical disadvantage. You are facing an obstacle.
Yeah.
Where the cultural consensus is that your mathematical odds of survival are basically zero.
Yeah, zero.
To use a modern analogy, it is like stepping into the arena with an unbeatable final boss in a really punishing video game. But this is real life and there are no respawns. You are proverbially and literally completely outmatched.
And the biblical text acknowledges that terror completely. It does not pretend the giants are anything less than giant.
Right.
But it introduces this massive paradigm shift in how this battle is actually going to be won. Moses tells the people that God will cross over ahead of them as a consuming fire.
A consuming fire. The NAA notes actually define that phrase in a really vivid way. They say it characterizes God acting as both a potent, active judgment and a warrior leading the charge. So the implication is that, compared to the centuries these Canaanite nations have been established, these giant enemies are going to be wiped out incredibly fast once this consuming fire moves through.
Exactly. God is essentially stepping in as the champion to fight the battle they cannot possibly win themselves.
Yeah.
But Moses anticipates a very specific psychological trap that happens next.
Oh, because human nature is incredibly predictable here.
Highly predictable.
If we go back to that video game analogy for a second, if you are stuck on that impossible final boss and someone else comes along, enters the developer cheat codes, and just beats the boss for you, well, your relief really only lasts for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, pretty soon your ego takes over.
Right. You look at the victory screen and start telling yourself, wow, my dodging was really on point today. I really earned that win.
Yes, and Moses knows that. He knows the moment the walls fall and the Anakim are defeated, the Israelites are going to rewrite history to make themselves the heroes of the story.
So what does he do?
He anticipates that ego inflation perfectly. So he issues a remarkably strict warning. He commands the people not to say in their hearts, "It is because of my righteousness that the Lord brought me here to possess this land."
Because of my righteousness.
Right. And to understand why Moses hits this point so hard, we really have to look at the cultural water they were swimming in back then.
Yeah, because the ancient worldview was built on a very strict sense of karmic meritocracy, wasn't it?
Completely. I mean, in the ancient Near East, military victory was almost universally viewed as a direct divine reward for a nation's righteousness or piety.
Like, if you won, you are the good guys.
Exactly. If your army won the battle, the assumption was that your gods favored you because you were the most moral, devout people in the region. So Moses is looking at his people and entirely flipping that ancient script.
He is completely stripping away the myth of their own self-righteousness.
He is.
But wait, if it's not their inherent goodness driving this massive historical shift, what is the actual motivation? Because the sources lay out two very specific drivers for the conquest, and honestly, neither of them flatters the Israelites.
No, they really don't. The first reason is the sheer objective wickedness of the Canaanite nations being driven out.
Okay.
The text frames the invasion as an act of divine justice against deeply entrenched systemic evil. The land is essentially like vomiting out its inhabitants because of their practices.
Wow. And the second reason has absolutely nothing to do with the current generation's behavior. It is anchored entirely in God's absolute faithfulness to the ancient promises made to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yeah, the Israelites are standing on the edge of victory solely because of a promise made to their great-grandparents.
It's the purest definition of unmerited grace. They are literally cashing a check they did not earn.
Which brings up a fascinating tension, I think.
Yeah.
Well, if Moses is stripping away their illusion of righteousness, how does he actually view the people he is leading?
Right, let's unpack this. If they aren't righteous, what does he think of them?
His assessment is shockingly blunt. He repeatedly refers to them as a stiff-necked or obstinate people.
Stiff-necked. The Holman Study Bible brings such incredible color to that specific phrase because it's not just a polite way of saying someone is a bit stubborn.
No, it's a very specific agricultural metaphor from their daily life.
Right.
Imagine a farmer trying to harness a beast of burden like an ox to plow a field. The farmer is trying to guide the animal, but the ox violently refuses to accept the yoke.
It just fights back.
Yeah, it stiffens its neck, locks its massive muscles, and absolutely refuses to bend or be directed.
I love that visual because it completely changes the nuance of the criticism. They aren't just bumbling around making innocent mistakes out of ignorance.
Not at all.
They are actively, violently fighting the direction of the very entity that is trying to save them. The muscles are locked in defiance.
Yeah.
And Moses does not just leave this as a theoretical metaphor. To prove just how stiff-necked they are, he brings the receipts. He literally forces them to look back at their most spectacular, humiliating failure as a nation.
Yeah, he takes the narrative right back to the incident at Horeb, which is the alternative name for Mount Sinai.
Right, Mount Sinai.
He recounts the story of being up on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, enduring a complete fast without food or water.
Which is physically impossible without divine intervention.
Exactly. And he's isolated in the divine presence to receive the stone tablets of the covenant.
And these tablets are the foundational legal document of their entirely new society. And there is this incredible poetic detail that the text uses. Moses says the tablets were written by the finger of God. Now, obviously, we're talking about an infinite spirit God. We are not picturing a divine entity with a literal skeletal structure and an index finger holding a chisel, right?
Right. The NDA notes define this perfectly as an anthropomorphism.
An anthropomorphism.
Yeah, it's the attribution of human physical characteristics to God to communicate a massive theological truth in a way the human mind can grasp.
Makes sense.
So by saying the finger of God, the text emphasizes that God authored and communicated these commandments directly and intimately.
This wasn't Moses sitting in a cave brainstorming a legal code.
No, this was unmediated divine revelation.
So you have Moses up on the mountain, completely deprived of physical sustenance, receiving this miraculous, direct revelation. And the contrast with what is happening down at the base of the mountain, just jarring.
It's a complete train wreck.
Yeah, the people down below are completely corrupting themselves by forging a molten image of a calf to worship.
And the Holman notes give us the historical context to understand why they chose a calf.
Yeah.
Or, more accurately, a young bull.
Why a bull specifically?
Well, they were heavily influenced by the religious environments they were sandwiched between. They had just spent generations in Egypt, where the powerful bull god Apis was central to the culture.
Oh, Apis, right.
And they were heading into Canaan, where the chief deity El was often given the epithet bull.
So the bull represented raw, tangible power, agricultural fertility, and military strength.
Exactly.
In their anxiety, with Moses gone for over a month, they couldn't handle the abstract, invisible, consuming fire. They reverted to the cultural defaults of the pagan nations around them. They basically wanted to shrink the infinite down into a manageable, familiar piece of metal that they could see, touch, and theoretically control.
And the divine reaction to this idolatry is absolutely chilling, especially how the pronoun
Oh,
shifts.
the pronouns. Yeah.
God speaks to Moses on the mountain. And notice what God does not say. He does not say, "My people have sinned." God says, "Moses, your people, whom you brought out of Egypt, have corrupted themselves."
Man, that is a staggering moment of distancing.
It really is.
The covenant has been violated so fundamentally that God essentially hands the ownership of the relationship entirely back to Moses. Like, they're your problem now.
Yeah. And God even offers a terrifying alternative. He says, "I'll destroy the Israelites completely, wipe the slate clean, and start a brand new nation and lineage solely through Moses."
Which, for Moses, has to be the ultimate temptation. I mean, he could become the new Abraham.
Right?
But instead, Moses heads down the mountain carrying the two divine stone tablets. He sees the golden calf, he sees the wild, chaotic worship, and he dramatically throws the tablets to the ground, shattering them into pieces.
Yeah, he just breaks them.
And if you view that moment through a modern psychological lens, it really looks like a classic impulsive temper tantrum.
Oh, sure.
It looks like a stressed out leader who simply reached his breaking point, lost his cool, and threw something incredibly valuable in a fit of uncontrollable rage.
It absolutely reads like a loss of emotional control to our modern eyes.
Yeah.
But the historical context completely upends that interpretation. Yeah, the NOA notes step in with a crucial revelation about ancient law. Smashing the tablets was not a tantrum. It was a highly deliberate, legally binding act.
Wait, so breaking a sacred divine text was an accepted legal maneuver?
Yes, within the framework of ancient Near Eastern vassal treaties.
Okay, vassal treaties.
Think of a vassal treaty as a massive, binding legal contract between a supreme, conquering king, a suzerain, and a lesser subjugated nation, which is the vassal.
Got it.
The NWA notes specifically point to treaties from the ancient Assyrian king Esarhaddon to illustrate how this worked. In that legal culture, destroying the physical text of a treaty was an official, recognized declaration of rebellion.
Oh, wow.
It was the formalized way of stating that the contract was permanently void.
That reframes the entire scene. It is less like throwing your phone against the wall in anger and more like standing up at the altar during a wedding, turning to the guests, and physically ripping the marriage certificate into shreds. It is a legal, visual demonstration that the relationship is dead. By shattering the tablets, Moses is showing them the spiritual reality they have already created. He is basically saying, you broke the covenant with your idolatry. I am just making the physical text match your spiritual rebellion.
Yeah. And with the legal contract literally lying in pieces on the dirt, the situation is as dire as it could possibly be.
The worst case scenario.
The idol has to be dealt with, and this totally fractured relationship has to somehow be salvaged from the ruins.
So Moses tackles the physical idol first, and his method is incredibly thorough.
Thorough is almost an understatement.
I mean, he does not just knock the metal calf over or melt it down to make something else. He brains it in the fire, he crushes the charred remains, he grinds it down until it is as fine as dust, and then he throws that... Physical labor involved in that level of destruction is immense.
It is, and the Holman notes highlight the profound symbolism embedded in that arduous process. Moses is publicly, systematically demonstrating the utter impotence and powerlessness of this so-called God.
Right.
By grinding it into literal dust, he is dramatically mocking anything that tries to compete with the authority of the true God. He's forcing the people to watch as the thing they worshipped is burned, crushed, and washed away like dirt.
It is a visceral, undeniable unmasking of the idol's complete lack of power. But, you know, once the dust is washed away, the core problem remains.
The guilt is still there.
Exactly. The idol is gone, but the covenant is still legally broken. And this is the moment Moses transitions from a lawgiver into an intercessor. And the sheer physical toll of what he does next is staggering.
Yeah, he spends another 40 days and 40 nights completely prostrate before God, fasting again without food or water, solely to intercede for the people.
Another 40 days.
Yeah, he places his own life and body entirely in the gap between the people's violent rebellion and God's impending justice.
He even has to spend time praying specifically to save the life of his own brother, Aaron, because Aaron was the one who actually facilitated the construction of the golden calf.
Right.
And What fascinates me is that Moses does not try to gaslight God during this intercession. He doesn't try to sugarcoat the situation.
No, he's very honest.
He openly lists other places where the Israelites rebelled, places like Taberah, Massa, and Kibroth-hattaavah. He admits they have a massive, undeniable track record of doing exactly this.
Well, he can't argue for their innocence because, as we established earlier, their righteousness is a complete myth.
Exactly. So if Moses cannot use the people's good behavior as leverage, what leverage does he actually have? I mean, he is standing there advocating for a stiff-necked people who continually betray him. How do you even begin to negotiate with God in that scenario?
It is a master class in the mechanics of intercession. The NAA notes break down the two brilliant pillars of Moses' argument.
Okay, what's the first pillar?
His first pillar completely bypasses the people and appeals directly to God's ancient promise. He reminds God of the covenant made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is essentially arguing that God's word is eternally binding, regardless of the current generation's horrific behavior.
Okay, so he anchors his plea entirely in God's historical character. He takes the focus off the Israelites' failure and puts it on God's faithfulness.
Exactly.
But he needs a second angle, because if I am Moses trying to save my people, I'm looking at the broader geopolitics. I'm wondering what the surrounding nations, especially the Egyptians they just humiliated by escaping, are thinking about all this drama in the desert.
And you have hit on his exact second strategy. It's incredibly audacious.
Yeah.
Moses appeals to God's global reputation. He argues that if God destroys Israel out in the wilderness, the Egyptians who are watching this unfold will deliberately misinterpret the events.
Right.
They will claim that God either secretly hated the Israelites and brought them out just to slaughter them, or that God simply lacked the sheer power to bring them all the way into the Promised Land.
That is such a brilliant legal argument. Moses is essentially saying, God, if you wipe them out in righteous anger, your enemies will not see your justice. They will mock your name and assume you are weak.
Yeah, and Moses caps this intercession off with a powerful reminder of identity. He reminds God that Israel is his inheritance.
His inheritance.
Yes. The commentary notes point out that this specific word signifies exclusive, permanent belonging. So despite their stiffness of neck, despite the shattered tablets, Moses pleads that they are still God's chosen people, brought out by his great power.
Wow. So he secures their future not by proving they finally deserve it, but by leaning the entire weight of the nation on grace, ancient promises, and the unshakable character of God.
It's beautiful, really.
It is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the core message here is incredibly liberating, even if it requires us to check our egos at the door.
Oh, definitely.
True success, conjuring the massive giants in our paths, or moving forward past our own spectacular failures, rarely, if ever, comes from our own flawless performance.
Right.
The idea of our own flawless execution is usually just a myth we tell ourselves to feel in control.
It is a myth that inevitably breaks the moment we face an obstacle larger than ourselves.
Exactly. More often than not, the ground we actually gain in life is the result of unmerited grace. It is the result of promises made by others that we simply benefit from. And crucially, it is the result of those unseen people who step into the gap and intercede for us when we inevitably fail and shatter our own commitments.
We all need an intercessor when the contract is broken on the ground.
We really do.
It just shifts your entire perspective from pride to profound gratitude.
It really does. So I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over as you navigate the rest of your week. Think about the massive obstacles, the absolute giants you have somehow managed to overcome in your own life. When you really strip away the ego and look at the reality, how much of that victory was truly your own doing? And how much of that path was actually paved by grace, by unseen actions, or by the quiet, exhausting intercession of someone else who stood in the gap for you when you didn't even realize it?
It is a profound reality check for all of us.
It is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Deuteronomy 9. It has been an incredible journey exploring this text with you. We have to say goodbye for now, but always remember that God blesses all the listeners. Take care of yourself, and we will catch you next time.